Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are live. We are back again. I am Dixie Dave with my co-host,
Crossen, and we are back after a little bit of a break for the holidays. Dave, did you have a good Christmas and New Year's?
Oh yeah. Hey, before we really get rocking and rolling with our show today, I would like to do something. If you could put me on full screen for just a moment.
Sure.
Alrighty, we have new music this week for our show, and I would like to thank our friends over at the band Liliac for allowing us to use their music off their Chain of Thorns album. You can get this music or multiple other merchandise from them if you like our new song at liliacband.com. Great band. They're up and coming. You're going to hear lots of things from them.
Yeah, we really appreciate this to be able to have that. It helps us, for our show too. So it's a good song. It really fits, I think, our NWF wrestling.
Oh yeah, because as the song says, Crusher, we may be adults now, but back when we wrestled, we were the children.
That's right. And speaking of which, we were going way back this week, Dave. This is going to be back in 1984 with about 5 months into the league with studio taping 23. This show here today that we're going to watch is from the Group W Cable Studios, which is why we got this Group W Cable Studio backdrop. And it was on October 13th, 1984.
Oh, wow.
2 years earlier. So that one we watched in the October 18th Armory card, this is going to be a really big difference from that.
Oh yeah.
Let's forewarn the viewers, Dave. When we look at this early stuff of NWF wrestling, this is not textbook professional wrestling by any means. This is the beginning and the growth and development stages.
This is where you can see how far we came in 2 years.
Yeah, really.
Between this show and the previous show that we showed you.
Yep. But it's still fun to watch, and of course we'll talk about it as we go. And I'm sure, Dave, you'll have a lot of questions because you've never seen this. This is before.
No, Oh yeah, way before I joined. And if I may say, Crusher, I'm still in the area where the studios were, and I still get a smile on my face every time I drive past that old building.
Yeah. That was fun. Even just going to do interviews, it was fun going to that studio, being around all that expensive equipment.
Oh yeah,
it was really our YouTube back in those days. That was all pre.
It was YouTube before there was a YouTube.
Yep. But Dave, another thing I want to quick point out: if you're joining us on Facebook, make sure that you go to this link. Take a break quick and go to this link and do this to give StreamYard permission to use your picture and your name. So if you decide to comment, we can then see your comments. And
we can give credit to whoever comments on the show.
Otherwise, it just shows up as Facebook user and we don't know who's who. So by doing this, and it's just a one-time thing, you only got to do it once. So it's a one and done. And then going forward, you'll never have to do this again. But that's something that I kind of want to point out as well. And then
exactly.
Before we get going with the show, Dave, I just want to remind everybody once again, you can find it. Let's see if I can find it here. Got so many of these now. On the web, nwfwrestling.org. That's our official website. So anything NWF related, make sure you go there, check it out. I've been meaning to get to that. In fact, I'm going to start working on the roster section next. I want to get everybody in there. So right now it's just me and Luxury Lane, but everybody will be in that roster section. I just got to get that going. That's going to be what I'm going to tackle.
Now on that website, Crusher, are you going to make things available like this nice shirt that I'm wearing tonight?
As a matter of fact, it is. If you go to that website and go to the product section, you can see the T-shirts, the DVDs, everything. So
now, if I'm correct, didn't we just recently get a new item in that if fans might be interested?
Yeah, we did. So I've been working on getting the NWF belts made, and let me just get rid of that. And I'm going to go full screen for a second. So
okay, well, you go full screen. I'm going to grab something.
Sure. So back in the
Oh,
day,
you got me on.
You on there. There we go. Back in the day, the NWF national title. This was a very recognized belt on the show as well, and we just got this one made. It turned out really nice. This is the newest belt. I can kind of get close so you can see it good. It's a really nice replication of this belt. Very 80s style to it. Turned out really good. Sorry, Dave, I took you out of the stream. I'm going to put you back in. For some reason, there we go. But yeah, that belt turned out great. It really did.
Oh, yeah. And if I'm correct, don't you also have some DVDs that are available there?
Yep, all the DVDs are, at least of the Armory shows, they're there.
You mean something like this?
Yep, the Summer Sizzler. That's the July card. It was kind of a sizzle. That's a very aptly, it's not an appropriate name for that Armory card, but yeah, the Sizzler.
Or we have this one.
Superstars Spectacular 86, yeah. Yep, our first event.
Oh, yeah. Or, one of my personal favorites, obviously.
The Fall Brawl, which you watched last week. That was a good one. All right. Well, Dave, I think we're ready to start the show, at least get it running anyway.
All righty.
When I bring
I may have some crazy...
What's that?
I may have crazy questions because, brand new thing for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't seen this show. You guys, I have not seen this show in so long. So I'm going to have to, it's going to refresh my memory as we watch it. But it's a fun street. It's going to be a fun one. This show goes about an hour long. Now, the music, Eye of the Tiger gets played quite a bit in this, and I got to try to lower the volume so that it doesn't get flagged. Even if it does get flagged, it's not the end of the world. It'll just be a copyright strike, but it doesn't hurt us. Eye of the Tiger is one of those songs that you can play, you don't monetize with it. So if it flags, it flags. But I'm going to try to lower the volume so we don't have that issue. I think that's the only song that I when I took a quick look at this that I knew was coming up. So this is going to be aired. We're going to play these streams exactly the way they were aired. So this is how it aired over cable television. So that's how you're going to see it. The only thing is we're just going to have the volume a little bit lower so Dave and I can talk along with it. So let's get to it. So here we go.
Let's roll the footage.
All right. So this is the beginning. Hopefully this doesn't flag anything with that with that music. This intro, Dave, is interesting. This intro was used for many shows. I want to say we started using this intro back on show number 5 or 6 when we started going to all these other cities. And what we did just did this colory background, and we just showed all the cities in the Twin Cities Metro that we were being broadcasted in. Because to us, that was huge. All these cities were seeing our show, and we thought, this is cool. So we wanted to, point it out.
Oh, yeah. What people have to remember is we were just kids at this point. And to us, this area was like streaming worldwide.
Yeah, that's right. Twin Cities, the Kids Twin Cities Pro Wrestling Show is what we called it. And actually, the league wasn't even the NWF, it was the TWA, which stood for the Twin Cities Wrestling Association. That's what we called ourselves then. NWF was still a few months away. All right, I'll kind of bump the audio up a little bit. So this is a preview of the main event with me and Campa. We have this title match on this show, and that's just kind of a preview right now.
All right.
That metal pan was used every show. That was our foreign object. We liked it because it sounded good when you hit somebody with it.
Oh, yeah. Now, this was 1984, correct?
1984, October 13th to be exact.
Okay.
That's Rob Jacob. On camera, he was calling himself Ray Johnson because he also wrestled as Jackknife Jacob.
Yep.
One of the best announcers on the show. He was really good. Really good.
Shine Crossen for the belt. And our first
He liked doing it too. He liked doing the announcing.
Shine Crusher
Oh, yeah.
Crossen. And we'll talk to him
Now, people may say, okay, this doesn't look like an official ring. And honestly, at the time, it wasn't. We were still a little bit away from that, but we were making do with what we had.
Right, this was the second show ever that we added ropes and post look. Before it was just the stage by itself.
Right.
This is the second show that we ever did with those where we added the ropes and posts. And it looks like a ring, but it doesn't work like a ring. You can't hit the ropes, and so it really hindered us a little bit in our development in these days for the wrestling.
Right.
Yeah, because we just couldn't do all the moves. We couldn't hit the ropes and stuff. Once we got into the garage, that all started to change. This was very common in these days, Dave. Pre-match interviews, we did that a lot.
Right.
And you know what's funny about that? At the time in 1984, they really weren't doing this. But if you notice, they do this all the time now.
Right.
But back then, and we just did it. But we weren't, it's not like we've seen the big leagues doing it.
Well, I will say, I started watching wrestling about 84, 85-ish. And I remember World Class doing ringside interviews.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, you see it, but not so much like in the ring, like how we
right.
Just like how they ended up doing years later in the WWE and WCW, all those in-ring promos.
Excuse me, gentlemen, the match hasn't started.
This is Andy Youngquist. Andy the Ripper Youngquist is his name in the red.
Okay.
He was just a friend of Rob Jacob and Charlie Lane. They all lived together down there by the river in Anoka, and that's how he came on the show. Adam Nash is the referee. That's the Dynamite Dude. Our very first lightweight wrestler ever. And he was good one as well.
Oh, into the post. Crusher Crossen.
See, we were just having fun with this. We never had posts to run into,
You just get slaughtered like that.
Exactly. It's all about what this league was for all of us is it was about having fun, trying to do what we saw our idols doing.
Yeah, and really learning. We were trying to figure out. We were figuring out our way, I guess you could say, of how to do this.
Right.
The development of the wrestling in these days was very slow, just because of the condition of that ring.
Right.
I didn't want to call it a ring. It's a stage with 4 posts and ropes.
So keep your
but it looks like a ring, right?
Oh yeah.
I guess that's the big thing.
And we'll give you further information about show.
The funny thing about Andy Youngquist, Dave, he did the wrestling because we wanted him to, but he was much more fascinated with running the camera in the directing room, running the character generator, doing the directing board, switching the cameras, the switcher. He was fascinated with that stuff. And that's the thing, Dave. When you're not wrestling in these days, you're either on camera or you're in the control room doing all the directing and switching of cameras and graphics and audio. So we were the crew as well as wrestling on the show,
Exactly, and that's what made this league so special is all of us kids were trying to learn all the ins and outs, all the different angles of being in the business.
Yeah. The only problem with that is sometimes you get kids. I remember Todd and Troy being on camera and they could hardly see, and they're trying to run the camera, and then the camera's going all over the place. And sometimes you get some technical issues with it, but not any fault.
But
they're trying their best, but
right. I mean, we were all learning as we went.
The referee is down. Now Andy Youngquist is starting to come back. He throws him down.
So this was one of those shows that, in the studio days, Dave, these shows, it all depended on how many people you got to show up.
But also some free
Right.
This particular show, we were borderline of being kind of light-handed. I think we had maybe 7 or 8 of us there. A lot of times we'd have over a dozen kids, and then we have plenty of people and enough people to, to run all the cameras and everything. I remember the worst we had is we only had 4 of us. That was a couple studio tapings after this. We had 4 guys show up, and we had to do the show. So yeah, it's tough when you don't have everybody there.
Right. But, we did what we could to make it a good show.
Here comes that pan. We loved using the pan just because it sounded good and you could hit as hard as you want, and it really didn't hurt too much. Our refs in these days, this was one of these situations, normally you hit the ref, you're disqualified. But our refs let everything go, just about everything go on those days.
And the NWA,
I remember one time when we were in the Yoho Municipal Auditorium.
Yeah, outdoor taping.
That's of course the national.
Yep, I was called on to do ref duty.
The WWF and the AWA were in tight competition.
Yeah, everybody took their turn reffing. Like Adam's reffing right now. He normally wrestles too. All of us would ref. I remember reffing lots of matches too. See, you can't climb the ropes. I'm trying. It's just this ring. I didn't really want to call it a ring, but it.
Now that you've heard about
but it gave us. It was the building blocks to getting the professional ring we eventually got. Right.
Right.
I was taking those steps, and this was the first step.
Since the show began, what do you think?
It's the best way to put it, I guess.
Now, was this the same quote-unquote ring with the infamous matches that I'm trying to remember the story. One of the wrestlers, no matter what you did to him, he was always within reach of the ropes.
Oh, yes, that was Merciless Mike Ackerman and Ace, Andrew Carlson. Title match. But our title matches were shoots.
Yep.
We didn't, and the reason they were shoots is because I was getting a lot of heat from the guys saying it's not fair. So I said, all right, fine, it's going to be fair. The title matches we're not going to decide. Whoever wins, wins. So Mike, he was convinced he was going to beat Ace, and as you notice, this ring is kind of a rectangle shape, and Andrew would get to the ropes every time and break the pin count. And Mike was furious. He was livid when he did, because he didn't win it. He wanted to.
40 seconds left.
I remember Mike telling me after that match, he goes, I was so mad, I just went in the bathroom and I paced. I gave up the tag team title just to win that world title. And he did.
His so-called warm-up match has defeated Andy the Ripper.
So there's Rob commenting on the outside. And,
the Crusher's the best.
Yeah. Even though I'm supposed to be a baby face, I'm really not doing baby face moves here.
What do you have to say about your...
I guess you could say we were all baby face and heels combined back then.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So that was just the
That wasn't the same ring bell I remember hearing.
Nope. We didn't have a bell, so what we used the top of a kettle, basically, in a wrench. It was the best we could do.
People of the Twin Cities,
and these promos.
Now, people, here's a good idea for you of how long ago this was. This is in 1984. This is Crusher Crossen in the ring.
Yeah, back in the day.
Todd the Crumble Campa. Cadillac Campa.
So Campa is the champion on this show. And
had it up to here. I'm gonna get the belt back.
And I'm talking about this in this interview right now.
He said he's been missing a few shows on a
so the reason Todd's the champion is because it was about probably 3 or 4 weeks prior to this, and Todd just asked me, he goes, hey, you're on one of our tapes, he goes, can I win the title? I really want to win the championship. He asked me, and I said, okay, and I said, He goes, just for a few weeks even. I said, all right. And I got to thinking, Todd's been with us from the beginning. He's been there every time. He's earned it. So I'm like, all right, I'm
Yep.
So, so I dropped the belt to him. That's why he's the champion. And
Definitely. There's
you
no
know,
way I'd miss
he just asked.
Crusher, you're gonna kill
Sometimes
Well,
all I got
that's-
to do is ask, Dave.
Camp, I don't know, he's gonna look like a cornfield.
Exactly. That's what I did. Is I just threw an idea out there, and
Yeah, I'm gonna. Okay, who are you gonna wrestle? Me and Adam Nash are gonna be. Oh, he likes to be called the Dynamite Kid. Great name. Okay.
Yeah, the dynamite dude, Adam Nash. He's Mike's.
Tampa,
It's like he's bringing him.
John Fritz.
And John Fritz. So John Fritz was my cousin. Furious Fritz. He was basically him and Adam were the two first lightweight wrestlers we ever
The
had.
next match, it's going to be a handicap match. It's going to be Merciless Mike against Dynamite Dude and Todd Killer Campa.
Get that right, Rowdy Ray. Come on. Don't you know how to talk? Dynamite Dude is on my side. What are you doing? Get it right. Hey, you want me? Okay, come on. All right.
So yeah.
Woo! And we're gonna be wrestling John, who's gonna be on the Fritz. Okay, and killed Campa.
Okay, so Merciless Mike and Dynamite Dude against Killer Campa and John Fritz. Or Furious Fritz as he went by.
And we're going to get the ring started. Oh, he's tearing his shirt there. Folks, he looks tough. Okay, we're going to get
Campa always wanted to look. Some people like Adam's just wearing shorts and shirt, and same with Mike. But Todd always wanted to look like he was an actual wrestler. All the matches he ever did, he always looked the part. You know what I mean?
oh yeah,
Shorts or he usually didn't wear a shirt, just because he wanted to have that look of being how the wrestlers looked.
exactly. I mean, back in the day, even it wasn't cheap. I hate to think what these wrestlers are paying for gear now.
Oh yeah, we couldn't afford anything like that in these days. So unless a kid was in wrestling. Remember Jerry Walker came with his wrestling singlet one time, but he was in wrestling.
Right. Well, I remember at a later point, a lot of us kids went out and got actual equipment, and I remember having the boots and the singlet and the gear, and
Yeah, once we got going with especially when we got the real wrestling ring thing, or the real ring. You almost wanted those boots just because to protect your ankles.
Officials.
oh yeah,
Okay, now Sean Crossen is the referee.
People don't realize what that feels.
It's a tag team.
Like I can't understand the people that wrestle barefooted. I'd never want to do it.
Trying to get away.
well, I mean, I've heard rumors that some of these wrestlers that used to wrestle barefoot used to
Actually, it isn't.
use
This is,
other things so they wouldn't feel the pain.
Yeah.
Okay, now Merciless Mike is out there, and he's really
Merciless Mike, one of his specialties was the airplane spin.
That
That was kind of everybody had like specialty moves. We didn't call them finishers. That term didn't exist. Maybe
Exactly.
you call it a finisher. But you had signature moves though. You had moves that you always did. And Mike's was the airplane spin.
The Irish whip, no. Oh, the clothesline there, folks.
So Todd Campa,
Into the rope.
You know,
he is down.
he was such a staple on the show in the beginning.
This match is
In 1984, 1985, he was there through all those years.
3 minutes left.
And Campa didn't do. I honestly can't remember any promo he ever did. But his in-ring of chemistry with everybody and all that was really good. He just there was just a natural feud with him and a lot of the guys, like with Mike and me, and just
Yep.
very natural. And Campa was
Oh,
really
that's
good for
Anthony
that.
out there.
And he was just a friend of Charlie Lane's. I knew his brother Troy. He was my age. We went to school
Folks, this is
together, but
getting out of control now.
Todd was Charlie's
Ask
friend,
that two
Charlie
of the
Lane.
men get out of the ring.
So that's how I was introduced to Todd, through Charlie, and he just, once we decided to do this wrestling show, Todd was one of our guys that we hung around with, and he was one of the guys we had come in, to
Oh,
do it.
yeah.
Okay, now a clothesline there.
It's just part of that neighborhood rat pack,
And now an elbow drop. Now he takes off. Now, he gets he gets to camp in time. Otherwise, that could have
You know, and that's how we built the league. Is one friend would tell another friend about it, and
Oh yeah.
we'd all join in.
He gives him a foot to the midsection.
That was the
Now
biggest
Nash
recruiting
way out
factor
of
was word of mouth with friends of friends of friends. A lot of that took place.
Okay, now he's trying
Um,
to take off with Merciless Mike, but he's not going to be able to
We
do it.
didn't have, we still was new with this
Oh, leg
makeshift ring, so we didn't have tag ropes yet. Eventually we would get tag ropes.
Look at that. Oh,
So right now you notice Adam
terrible pain.
doesn't have a rope to hang on to, and he's getting way out there to try to tag in, which
Oh,
that's how you need a tag rope.
Yep.
Take off. Oh, they do. Now here comes Adam Nash. He is mad, but oh, he knocks down Killer Camp. He has a lot of power in that little body of his.
Yeah.
Oh,
Adam, he was a tough kid,
He pulls his leg out from under him.
for his age.
Knee to the midsection, abdominal section of little.
A funny story with Adam Nash.
Dude.
Dynamite
Merciless Mike
Dude.
is attacking.
So
Yep.
it's not really funny. It's actually, this is what happened. Adam played hockey. And in those days, you'd always play hockey at the local skating rink, outdoor rink, and they had a
Yep.
warming house and everything. That's how it was done. And now all the kids in the whole area would go play hockey and skate, whatever. I did too. We all did. Well, one night Adam was there, and they were giving him crap about the wrestling in the warming house, and they're trying to say it's fake and everything. And as us, even as kids, we hated hearing that from other kids. You didn't want to hear people
Oh, yeah.
say it's fake. So anyways, they're giving Adam a hard time, and so he goes, "I'll show you how fake it is. Come here." And he put a kid in a figure 4 leg lock, and he briefed
Oh
him.
no.
Yeah, he wanted him to feel it. Screwed the kid's knee up. I don't know if it was bad, but it was definitely, he was hurting.
We have 1 minute left.
And then he tells me about this, and I said, "Adam, don't ever do that again." I said, you know what? You're going to ruin this whole thing. I said, that parent complains, they'll shut this whole show down. I said, keep the wrestling for the show, and don't. And I get it. People are giving me a hard time. I get it, but don't do that. Don't do the moves outside the ring. I got really on him on that. I remember.
What a move there. 30 seconds left.
Even to this day, I still dislike it when somebody calls wrestling fake. I'll look at them and I'll tell them, yes, it is scripted, it is predetermined,
Dude gets out. 20 seconds.
but those stops at the bottom of a body slam don't feel good.
No. I mean, especially on a ring like this.
Oh yeah.
Although we're
I
a
did.
lot more careful with each other in this stage thing. We didn't do a whole lot of
2, 1, and it looks like a
high impact moves on that ring, because it was hard as a rock. So you had to be a little more careful with that in this environment.
limit has been exceeded now. That is the end of the match. Nobody winning.
Although
Very good match.
we're gonna have one of these days, we're gonna show our studio tapings with the Super Ds when they first joined. And when they get thrown out of the ring, they dive out of the ring like they're diving into a swimming pool. I mean, we got it all on camera. It's crazy. Them two were fearless. Todd and Troy Dazowski.
Leaving now. Okay, now after he plays havoc with his leg, now he leaves and everybody's leaving.
So that match was all out of control in the end. Yeah, Adam
That
sell.
is what we call in the business a schmoz fest.
See, look at Adam sell that knee. He wasn't hurt at all.
Okay, let me tell you something. Twin Cities.
So here's Jackknife Jacob now.
Master plan, boy.
Excellent interview. He was such a good interview.
Crusher, Crossen, Merciless Mike. Who are those dudes? They're wimps. But I've got 2 wrestlers already in my ranks. Derek Nash and Heath Peterson. Pile driver, he likes to be called. You're dead, Cross, and you're dead, Ackerman. I've got another weapon against you just to ensure that you're dead. He's another tag team partner. We're gonna have 4 people. Yes, it's Killer Campa. All right, brother. We're gonna kick on those 2, aren't we?
You bet. Ain't we always?
That's about all you hear of Campa. He wasn't a talker.
Introduce the man.
But Rob was so good at interviews.
He kind of has that, from what I can see, he kind of has that Jake Roberts feel to him, where he doesn't get loud, but he gets the message out there.
Yeah. I'm
How many pounds? That's merciless.
trying to keep this volume down a little bit so we don't get flagged for this music. But so yeah, this is like one of those shows where you're limited and you just wrestle more than once because you don't have enough guys.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Well, I remember when I entered, we do multiple tapings in a day.
Some people have asked us, where did you get the referee shirts, you know, for that time period? Well, fortunately, my sister was dating, or I think they might have even been married at this point, or they were just getting married. A guy by the name of Scott Stover, who was umped several softball tournaments. So he had a wardrobe of referee shirts, which became NWF referee shirts. So I went and took them.
You thief, you crusher.
Yeah.
So, we're going to get started here anytime. Crusher's getting very uptight about the whole situation. Getting very anxious to get in the ring. Now he's already
Try to get this
Jackknife tried to kick him.
audio a little bit louder so people can hear it.
Jackknife sliding right out of the ring. Crusher hits him with the forehand. He comes against the ropes. Knee right to the.
Yeah, Jacob was good. He was our best heel wrestler at this time. Was Jackknife Jacob.
Holy cow.
Ciampa was good too. Together they were great.
Oh yeah.
You know that the poster would. At least you should.
Merciless Mike, and I'm really surprised in our Hall of Fame voting that he never got voted in because he was a real staple on the show. Both him and Jackknife. Killer Camp was in the Hall of Fame the first year.
You know, there is always that one more opportunity.
Yeah. And just so everybody knows, our Hall of Fame, it's no political business there. That's strictly votes on the internet. People vote for those. 100% voting.
It's not like, we won't say company names, but other companies' Hall of Fames where, you know, oh, this guy's a friend of a friend, so let's put him in.
Yeah. I imagine most of the votes probably, Dave, they'll do come from when people that are subscribed to our video network because they watch all the shows. And
right.
And they tend, because when I looked at, I can see, because I limit by IP address when we set that thing up. So in other words, you can only, if you can't hide your IP and you have to have a valid IP to vote, IP address.
Right.
It tracks where everybody is. And most of our votes come from outside the United States, believe it or not. 60% of the votes came outside the country.
Huh.
Yeah.
But it was the fans who voted the people in.
Yeah. Yeah, that it was.
I know one year I was up for a vote and didn't quite make it in. But, you know, there's always next time.
Yeah, there's one more to go. We're only going to do one more. But you know that this so people might look at this today and say, well, what would people watch this for? But back in the day, there was nothing like this. You know, other than professional wrestling, when you've seen something, when you're flipping your channels, come across this is like a local. It was just new to everybody. They'd never seen anything like it.
Right, and this was before our Armory days, or before even the Fred Moore days.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, right on the leg.
You know, the thing is, so the Group W Cable Studio had its pluses, right? It had the nice blue backdrop or black backdrop, whatever curtain we wanted to use. It had the professional cameras, which were brand new at the time. It's really expensive, like studio cameras. And they had the control room with the character generator and the switcher and all that fancy, and the audio board and all that sophisticated equipment. And so we had all that at our leisure. So we had a professional looking show. But when we went to the garage, while the ring improved, because we actually got more of a working ring,
Right.
they were then limited to just a stationary camera. So we didn't have the fancy equipment like we did in the studio.
Right.
Same with Fred Moore.
Hit to the neck. Pardon me.
So that's the only downside.
Crusher out of the ring now. Todd the Killer Camp comes over.
Now, if I remember correctly, we only had one camera in Dayton also, didn't we?
Yeah. The only time we had multiple cameras after these studio days was when we did the Armory shows. And last Armory event and all the dry dock shows, we used the mobile van. So that was a kind of a studio in a van. So then that was
Right.
a little bit more like the studio.
Okay, Merciless Mike Ackerman now in the ring, but Todd the Killer Camp and not leaving as he's just beating on Crusher. Hits to the
I just laugh when we push the refs around because, man, later on in 2 years from now, if you pushed a ref like that, you'd be disqualified on our show.
Who is the referee? And okay, I don't know what's going
The
on.
refs weren't afraid to ring the bell in the later days of the NWF.
Now Killer Camp is going after Merciless and Jackknife still in the ring. Oh!
There goes that pan again.
Crossen just hit Todd the Killer Camp with that metal plate.
We called it a metal plate.
Oh, now he hits the ref. Jackknife Jacob takes the metal plate away. He's gonna hit Merciless. And he hits the ref, but Merciless is getting up. He blocks it. No, not quite. He didn't get a good block in there because evidently he's.
Am I overselling a little bit there? I'd say.
Hurts. I tell you. And he's gonna.
Gee, if it was a later date, I'd say that
no pain in that particular spot.
a minute ago, it almost looked like you were trying to bring some juice into the situation.
Yeah. You know, we used to put microphones underneath the stage because we had like 8 microphones we could use. So we would put microphones under the stage just to help get the sound. Then we used to have a mic. We weren't doing it yet, but eventually we'd have a mic up in the lighting poles that would lower down, just like they did on the. You remember back in the AWA shows, and that mic would come down.
Yep.
Yeah, we ended up doing the same thing in the studio.
And to our Facebook user that said hello, we say hello to you.
That must have been the 500th time Jackknife hit that referee.
Oh, I see that. Yeah.
Now, if you go to StreamYard, to the link that Crusher shared earlier, we could actually see who you are and
Yeah, because otherwise,
welcoming you in by name.
otherwise you're just going to show up as Facebook user like this. So yeah, if you pick this link, which I can show you here. If you go here and just all you gotta do is go to that link, it'll automatically ask you to give permission to StreamYard. Then it'll show who you are properly. That's the thing. It's only on Facebook. If you're on YouTube, it'll come up right. So.
Or on Twitch.
Or on Twitch, yeah. I'm new with Twitch. I know we're streaming on Twitch, but this is brand new for me. I don't know how it works over there for comments.
Crossen is out of the ring. So isn't Jackknife's half out.
While we're watching this match, I think I'll take this opportunity to
But luckily the ref blocked that with his hand, as you've seen.
remind everybody of our YouTube channel, youtube.com/NWF Wrestling. If you haven't been there, you can watch the live streams there as well, and lots of content on there. You can just search the whole library of videos that we have on there. And if you're on YouTube, be sure to join our Facebook group, NWF Wrestling. If you do it, you got to kind of type that whole link out, because if you just type NWF Wrestling in the Facebook search, it won't come up properly. But if you type that link, it'll take you right to our Facebook group.
Now what's gonna happen?
So Facebook group/NWF Wrestling.
If you are watching us on YouTube, I'd also like to ask you, if you enjoy our content, click the like button, click the subscribe button, if you want to share it with your friends, we welcome everybody here.
Exactly. Like and subscribe, please. It helps us out.
Now, Jackknife Jacob's the official one in.
Yeah, these it's like a Texas tornado here. These tag team matches would get wild and out of control a lot of times, and this is one of them. And the ref is doing all the ref's doing is trying to push people out of the ring.
It's just so confusing. Please bear with me. Clothesline right on Jackknife.
See, we were just all I can tell you is this: we had done 21 shows of just pretty much that stage. Well, I shouldn't say I'm about 16 shows week after week of that stage. When we were able to add the 4 posts and ropes, that was like a Christmas for us. It's like now we got something that looks like a ring, and we can kind of mimic it as a ring and work with it as a ring. So we were just really excited to have that.
That's it. Holy cows, ring the bell.
So here, we don't have anybody to ring the bell though, because there's just not enough guys. I think Adam Nash is the only one I don't see
On the screen.
on the screen. Yeah.
Oh yes, Crusher and Merciless win the match. There goes the bell. Crusher and Merciless declared the winners. What an awesome match. Now we're
The thing I remember about these Group W Cable Studio matches is there'll always be a mini battle royal at the end of these matches sometimes. It was just common occurrence. Especially when Brian Peterson comes into the scene. That's when it really gets wild.
Okay.
Well, you had the Crossen family, and you had the Jackknife Jacobs family.
Yeah, it was the two families in these days. You're on one or the other.
Between John Fritz and the Dynamite Dude, who are entering the arena now. Here they are. And their opponent. And their opponent.
It's going to be a handicap match.
Top contending wrestlers for the championship. Andy, the Ripper Youngquist. And there you see him on your monitor. Let's get down to Tim Johnson and Ray Johnson for all-star action.
Hello, this is Tim Johnson, and
Yeah, this is
joining me soon.
And
I think
Andy is really growing fast too. Like he's on. I was realizing, he's on the show in October. I remember when he came in December, he came on another show, and he might have probably looked like he'd grown 3 or 4 inches in that time.
Andy Youngquist definitely, as you can see, has the weight advantage, wouldn't you say, Ray? Well, okay, well, anyways, but
Well, we see why it's a handicap. We have 2 lightweights against the heavyweight.
and the Dynamite Dude
Yeah,
do have the quickness over
we did that a lot actually.
Definitely. This is Ray Johnson, by the way.
I remember doing many handicap matches, not only with 2. Sometimes I do 3 and 4
the Dynamite,
lightweights at a
true. It's a
time.
handicap match.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, look at that. Great. But see, Andy the Ripper, one of the top contending.
Right now we only
Sad.
we just have these 2 for our lightweight division. We were just trying to get our lightweight division up and going, and
Yeah.
the next lightweight wrestlers we end up getting would be the Super Ds.
Crossen has, and I'm
And Rough
sure
Ryan,
Crusher would say
they'd
that
come on in
he's
another
currently
a few more
improving.
months
He
from
is
here.
a fine wrestler. That's
true,
true.
Yep.
Because rumor has it that Andy's been absent for a while. And
Sadly, when I joined in, the lightweights were starting to phase out.
He has.
Yeah, that was Luscious Larry's call. He didn't like the lightweight wrestlers.
Well, right now.
Well, what he failed to realize is those lightweight wrestlers made him look even bigger.
He hasn't been around for a long
Yeah, he did.
In one of our shows, one time, a long time ago.
No, but more importantly, I judged it.
Yeah,
I knew it was important to have lightweight wrestlers because at our first Armory card, Dave,
But right now, Andy.
I judged every team and who got the biggest pop of the night. And the Super Ds, by a mile, got the loudest applause on that card.
When you have a miniature division for littler.
Yep.
And they were lightweight wrestlers, so that shows you right there, that people enjoyed. I mean, they like the lightweights. And almost, for us, it's kind of like having midgets.
Because it does take a lot of energy to do this.
Yep.
Oh, yes, and just watching them.
Actually, watch now. Okay, here we go.
You know, like I said, us wrestlers, we were doing the most of all the cameras and control room. But eventually, towards the end of the studio days, I started to get so preoccupied with running the show and eventually got other public access volunteers to help with that. So I know starting in '85 in the studio, I started using other people in the control room, other volunteers,
Right.
just to do the directing. And us wrestlers would always usually be on camera still, but for the control room stuff, I'd have a crew that would volunteer for me and help produce it.
Well, we know one person that wasn't volunteering that worked with Group W.
We got a few comments from them.
Who's that?
Tronson.
Oh, Scott.
AWA
Yeah.
will take in the kids Twin Cities Pro
Yeah,
Wrestling.
Did you know the truth about Ray? Tim, pardon me.
all the
That
things
I
he
think
did.
they
Shut the.
will,
One time we
because
were.
Now that
One time we were doing a studio taping like this. And we were trying to wrap the show up.
I also want to bring up
We
one
were
more
running
thing.
over our 3-hour limit, and Constantine just comes in and starts shutting off all these studio lights, and it just goes
People are
dark.
really driving it up about this
Our time was up.
championship match coming up. Crusher,
Even though we were
Crossen,
recording the
is
end of the
going to
show,
wrestle Todd, the Killer Camp,
you just felt necessary to barge in there and shut
that
it
has
down.
really been driving a lot of chaos here around. Pardon me.
Well,
A lot of chaos.
many tried to shut us down and failed.
Right into the post. Referee,
You know this. The reason we got the 4 posts and ropes is because I applied for a cable grant.
For a count of one, and it looks like he's pinned again.
They had a sign on the bulletin board out in the hallway that said apply for a cable
He got
grant.
his shoulder up. Apparently, the ref says.
So I did. I applied for the grant and we got it. I remember when I filled out the application, I gave it to Scott and said, there's a lot of other people trying to get this grant. There's no guarantee you're going to get it. I said, I know that. I just want to put my name in the hat.
I believe that will be it for right
We
now.
got the
but
grant,
we're
and
gonna have
that-
more action to come up, and
Crossen didn't
Ray
like
Johnson,
that,
Tim
Dave.
Johnson here. So let's go back to. We'll be right back after this. Pardon me.
But hey, he may not have liked it, but that's too bad.
Right. So now we're at the title match with me and Killer Campa. This was kind of our main event for the day match. So Campa's the champion, and I'd be the challenger.
What a stud!
That belt he's got there was the belt we used. It says TWA champion because it was TWA, but we used that belt as the NWF title as well, all the way until we got the blue belt. So, which would have been the blue belt we got in, I think it was around May. Now I better try to lower the volume just for a little bit till that music goes away. Yeah, I had a Tiger in those days when I came out to the ring because Hogan stopped using it,
Yep.
and I was such a fan of Hogan back in these days.
As soon as Crusher Crossen comes in.
I mean, at least the AWA version of Hogan.
Oh, here comes Jack. Now,
Yep.
watch it, Ray.
You know,
Ray. That's a dumb name that Merciless Mike made up, but what the heck? Okay, now.
I
Hey, give me
was trying to get this volume at a good level.
It's
Um,
obvious who's gonna be the victor. This
I
match.
I was such a big Hulk Hogan fan when he first started in the AWA, but when he left to go to the WWF,
Then you can announce
God, it was like a ship sailing for me. It didn't feel right. I still liked Hogan after that, but part of that magic kind of died when he left the AWA for me.
I'm just gonna.
Right.
I'm just. Okay, I'm just gonna add a little insight to this dude called Killer Campa. Before I give it to you, Ray.
Yeah. Man, handling those refs. I was the worst of it, too.
Okay, I'm gonna give it to you a second, Ray. But first of all, you see this Killer Campa dude. He might be small, but he is macho. Total macho. 100% all-American macho.
Is that
What a stud. Mike
Jacobs?
Ackerman can rip a
Yeah,
shit.
he's in his character of Jackknife Jacob now.
Yep.
Okay, but now, okay, Rowdy Ray, you can have it now. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Now,
A lot of role playing.
Okay, we're gonna get on with the match now. Oh, Crush It Crossen, getting off to a good start here.
You know what was good about Ray when Rob was Ray
Look for
Johnson?
Youngquist here.
If you listen to how he calls matches,
Andy,
even
we've
at that
had
young
rumors.
age,
He's gonna be our guest
he
announcer.
really
Andy, we've had rumors that
he really does a good job at putting over the guys.
join
You know, trying
Exactly.
Jacob,
The
just
self for him.
possibly. I've heard
And every
rumors
time a
that
big
he's very
move
happy
happens,
at all.
Well, yes.
He'd get excited for it.
If
Yep, he'd really get
Jacob
into
wants
it.
to, I will.
Okay. And you hate Crush It Crossen enough to do that?
Yes. Crush Cry.
Sounds like he's interviewing Andy the Ripper.
Ha, I got a few words for your veins. Andy the ripped up. Whatever.
Notice the socks. That's what we all wore back then.
Settle down.
Yep.
Okay.
Those
Anyways,
tube socks with the
as
stripes.
you know, the Crusher will win.
Well, they were as close as we could afford the boots.
Oh,
Yeah.
look at him. Look at his shoulder block.
I know that Todd would get. So you know, I would do these matches. I do the whole Hulk Hogan comeback a lot of times, where he starts hitting me and I start shaking and shaking. And Cam,
Oh, you
I remember
saw
there'd be
that
times
one.
where Cam
That is
would
painful
he'd be
to
looking at
watch.
lean over me, take it
My
easy,
goodness.
because he'd be intimidated by whatever I was doing. Like I was gonna get too overly aggressive.
There was a backbreaker.
Yeah.
Okay, now we've got a good match going here now. Oh, Jackknife Jacob back to say one more thing. Okay. Andy, you're a klutz. Okay, but now I just gotta say something. I'll give it back to you, Rowdy Ray. Okay, Andy, you say you don't like Crush It Crossen that bad. I don't care. I'll try here. You want
What I liked is
Yeah, I would like
in our era we
join the Jackknife. The Jackknife.
we had
The Jackknife.
grown so people weren't running in
We've
front of
got
the camera
here,
during
another one, Andy
match.
the Ripper.
Right.
Now we are really good.
Yeah. It's just so, especially when you have
Thank you, Jackknife. Now back to the
limited
match.
people.
Right.
Oh,
When we had
an
more of the
elbow to
wrestlers
chest.
there, it was a
The
little bit
ripped
more
knee. Oh, now
organized.
Crush It Crossen may have difficulty breathing. I wonder if he doesn't have broken ribs or not. Okay, so you heard the news. Oh, could this be the pin? 1, 2? No.
Well, see how excited Rob gets
Ray
in
Johnson,
an attempt
I
there, and
gotta
he
say
gets
one
really
thing
into
about
it.
this. So
Yep.
Those are the
Crush
kind
It
of things that
Crossen.
really.
He thinks he's so
And
good.
we were just lucky. All the people we
Look,
had as
he's
our
getting
announcers were
real
good at
hard.
that.
He thinks he's strong now. One thing you gotta say about him, he's cool. Oh, cool. He's nice. See that? And he gets hurt. Okay, I'll take over and help guest announce. This is
It's like Mike Ackerman's taking over. That would be real common. People would just grab the mic and jump
It's so
in. And
fun to watch. Ooh, but Crusher, watch this. Crusher will get back, and he'll win. He has that energy stored in him. Crusher is just the most awesome wrestler
hazardous
I've
to
ever
your
seen.
health. Somebody that looks like Adam's having
And
fun
you see Kempa is getting
in the
a little
control
bit-
room, typing the messages on the scroll.
This little wimp getting beat
Yep.
up. This Crusher crossing.
Or not Adam. I don't know who's in there. Somebody's got to be in there though.
Oh, he needs the ropes to get up, folks. Look at this. Oh, big whoop, like it hurt him. Jeez,
Yeah, we just couldn't hit the ropes like we
come on, Cam.
like we wanted to.
This Crusher cross.
Exactly.
Those are basically just bungee straps holding the ropes on. That's why it's so flexy. That's why it's got such a.
Crusher has that reserved energy in him, and of course
You
he
know.
does. Look at him. Look at him.
The bolo punch. The Crusher
Look at
made
that
that
reserved
famous.
energy, and now Cam
Yep.
is
Not
following
this
behind
Crusher.
The Crusher. The Crusher going at it. Woo!
It goes to show you what our influences were though in the early days.
Exactly. I mean,
We are 5 minutes into this match.
Thank you.
we All of us tried to pattern ourselves after idols that we had.
There you can. The
Yeah.
Crusher is still.
Campa with the
He'll
claw
never
hold.
submit. There's no way he'll lose to this.
Yes, give me the ball. Okay, thank you. Okay, Merciless Mike, if you'd please excuse me. Me and Andy were the guest announcers.
And thanks to you and
Andy's corner again to help the Crusher.
another one of our wrestlers, Slick Steeners, and I actually got to meet the Claw Master once.
Yeah, Baron von Raschke.
Yep.
I'll tell you a story with him. Right around this time, actually, the AWA came to the Anoka Ice Arena, and we went to see it because you got All-Star Wrestling local.
Yep.
And I knew where the dressing rooms were because I knew the layout of the ice arena. And I thought maybe the wrestlers in there. So I thought I opened the door up to see, and there was Baron von Raschke and Billy Robinson working out their match. And I opened the door on them.
This is whip.
Billy Robinson looked up to me and he says, "Could you give us a little bit of privacy, please?" Just yelling at me, and I just closed the door. I was 14 years old. I'm like, I'm not doing that again.
Crusher.
Yeah, he barked.
Yep.
Oh, he got to.
Well, you were young, didn't know better yet.
Yeah.
There's that metal plate again.
He thinks he knows.
Yeah, we used that so much
Oh, he's
back in those
attacking with
days.
a foreign object. We've got 5 minutes left in this match.
Throw on the wrestlers, throw on the refs.
If it is not decided within 5 minutes, that'll be the end. And Killer Cap will remain the champion. Oh, he throws him into the ring over that top rope. That can hurt.
Nobody got hurt in Group W Cable. Not even,
Midsection.
well, Charlie hurt his
Now
ankle
what's he gonna do?
way back in the early days. But other than that, nobody really got hurt on that ring.
Ouch. That can hurt my friends.
Well, that's one thing about our league is we were as safe as we possibly could be with each other,
Yeah.
for the most part.
Okay, he gets to a 6 count before he gets back inside the ropes. Inside the square circle.
But this is so early on in our league, man. So early. I never saved the stuff without the rope. We had 18 or so shows without these
4 minutes
ropes.
left in the match.
And
Oh, yeah.
Once we got the ropes, I'm like, I don't want to see it without the ropes anymore. So
All we
at the
needed
time, I
was
thought, I don't
shoulder
want
or
this
the
anymore.
Upper chest.
I really wished I would have saved it, though.
Another one.
Just to show the overall progression.
Right, I got a show. I have one show
And could
with
this
just
be
a
at the
stage.
clothesline?
We got bits and
Yes.
pieces, but we don't have any, the whole library of it.
And could this be the pin? Maybe. He's got it under control. Oh, the body slam.
Yeah, Campa was easy to work
I
with.
can sense it.
I mean, even in this early stage, he was so flexible.
A bad color. The shoulder was up. Apparently, the match will go on. Killer Kappa taking a beating.
So it looks like we
3
have
minutes
false
left
pin
in the
now.
match.
False finish.
Okay, now. Oh, body slam. Okay.
Are you gonna go for the big boot?
No, a flying drop kick.
That's sort of a drop kick.
Oh, he throws him down. Could this
It's
be-
funny when I watch myself do that drop kick there.
He doesn't look like
I
he
got really
wants
good
to,
with
though.
it, but not in the beginning, huh?
Victory roll. 2.
Yep.
And that's the match. There is a new Kids Twin Six Pro.
What did I say? The one, the only Crusher, Victorious.
Oh, and Andy the Ripper.
I gotta bring the audio down so I hear that music again.
I'm sorry, folks. We're having some technical difficulties.
Well, you won, so now they're attacking you, huh?
Yep, Andy comes jump. Yep.
Mike has stolen the belt from me. Very awkward situation.
Rob's mad because Mike took the belt from him. Rob wanted to do it. NWA Twin Cities Wrestling Champion. Yeah, The Twin Cities Wrestling Association is what we called ourselves these days.
Is the new champion for the third time. Okay, and we'll be
So he said for the third time. That's right. That would be the third time I had it.
Oh,
So now it's battle royal of what's basically of us, those of us that are there.
the winner gets $10,000.
Yeah.
I've been told that this is a battle royal for $10,000.
That's right,
gonna
Jackknife.
win.
gee, I wish I would have been in that match. I could have used 10 grand.
$10,000 battle royal. Like all battle royals, we didn't see a dime of that.
And it's
You know, I remember on one of these Group W cable shows, we got some. They had, remember the fake money back in the days? That's how it was, fake money, and back then it looked pretty good.
Yep.
We had a bunch that, so we'd be floating money around all the time on the show, like trying to buy off wrestlers from one side to the other.
Yep.
Did that. Did with that fake money. In these days, if anybody ever was bleeding, like we would do some blood matches sometimes. It was always the fake blood though, the stuff you'd get during Halloween.
Yep.
They call it like vampire blood or something.
That's how we always got color back in the day.
Yeah.
we have a musical battle royal, I guess you could say. We decided to play some music.
Yeah, I have to keep the audio low just because that song, there's nobody in the control room to stop it.
You know, this is kind of fun going back and watching the early era stuff.
Yeah.
You know, don't you also have a pivot share where fans can go and watch stuff?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, well, the easiest way to find it really is just to go to their nwfwrestling.org or website and just go to NWF Video Network. There's a link at the top of our website that says NWF Video Network, and that'll take you right there. And you can get over there, everything's available that we have pretty much. And again, on the basic website, nwfwrestling.org. Again, guys, we're watching Studio Taping 23 from Group W Cable Studios on October 13th, 1984. This is basically the end of the show now. We're getting on. This is the last event, is this mini battle royal. And I didn't win it. I just got thrown out.
Well, you were out of the 10 grand.
Yeah. And Adam, he's a fighter. See, I don't know if we really even said or picked who's going to win. I was just like, everybody just tried, we winged it. This battle royal was really just winged it. Because Adam doesn't want to go out.
Now, I got a question for you, Crusher. Now, if the fans do join our pivot share and they find a favorite show, wouldn't you be open to accepting requests?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if they see a show they want to watch, all you got to do is just send us an email. nwfwrestling@gmail.com. Just drop us an email and say, hey, I'd like to see this show or whatever. If you go there and you see a show you like, just tell us which one. We can do a watch along and we start doing requests. Sure. We got the whole library to work with here, so lots of years, lots of shows.
The NWF was around for, if I'm correct, 4 years.
Yeah, well, a little bit
in
more.
one incarnation or another.
As far as me involved, it was 4 years. It kept going after I left.
Right.
I wasn't involved with it though, and it was transitioning. It was turning into, it wasn't kids wrestling anymore.
But you have at your disposal 4 years of footage.
Yeah.
So, if our fans do find a show that they like, You know, send an email to that email address that Crusher said. And
So Camp is attacking.
Yeah.
Oh, he is
Looks like Ackerman, Merciless Mike Ackerman wins the Battle Royal
partner Ackerman
on
wins.
studio taping 23.
But Crusher throws down his legs.
And
Going after
Camp and I keep battling it out. There goes Jacob and getting in. See, these matches would just be forever. They just,
Ackerman's
you'd have this chaos all the time at the end of them, it seemed,
Johnson gets in there helping out.
back in the day.
Being wrong. Ackerman wins $10,000. I don't believe it.
You know, Dynamite Dude and John Fritz, they were actually lightweight wrestlers back in our basement show taping when we did the basement stuff. That's how early they started.
And
Yep.
that's all for the show right now. We'll be right back.
All right, so now this is just the kind of a recap, a replay of the Battle Royal, but we didn't actually have a credits roll. So we just basically said thanks for watching, and this was kind of the end of the show, basically. So,
well, we hadn't quite gotten sophisticated enough yet.
right. So
You know, I think the fans will realize our progression on our next show, which, if I'm correct, will be 1 week from tonight.
yeah, we're gonna go every week now. And next week's show, yeah, we and that's it. So that was the end of that taping. But you mentioned next week. Actually, next week we're gonna. So now here we are in 1984 in October at the very beginning of the league. But next week we're actually going to be taking a look at.
We're going to do a little time travel.
Yeah, we're going to do a time travel. We're going to go back to. Actually, it's interesting, Dave. We're going next week. It'll be January 12th, and we're going to take a look at studio taping 112 from January 12th, 1988. So it just so happens to fall on the exact date that we're going to be going live. Isn't that interesting? And a special guest that's going to join us from this, he was actually on the show, terrific Tim Melton. He was one of the wrestlers back then that was in the NWF. He's going to be our special guest to join us next week for this dry dock taping number 112 for next week.
So next week, special guest.
Yeah. Tim's going to be a fun guest because he actually, when I left the NWF, he stayed with it, and he can tell us exactly what happened with it, where it went, and it's a very interesting story of what happened to the NWF. We'll just
So be advised, people, next week's show may run a little bit longer than this week's. Probably not as long as our last show, but
yeah,
we may find out some interesting information.
yeah, it's a you know, I know the story, but I'm gonna let Tim tell it because he actually he was there for it. So it's an interesting be an interesting show. But he's gonna be our guest. And we're going to do the watch line. It'll be the three of us doing the watch line with those dry dock tapes. Now, the dry dock stuff is obviously 4 years later from what we just watched. So everything progressed. You know,
Everything will be a lot more professional.
yeah. And this was when the NWF was transitioning. Like I said, you're going to see, you know, a lot of us kids that were still involved, and it's kind of a transitional period. So, be an interesting show, though. I want to point out again, though, guys, if you're here, if you please like and subscribe to our channel, we really appreciate it. Those of you on YouTube, helps us out.
And even if you're watching it in a replay, like and subscribe if you like our stuff.
Yeah.
Don't forget to hit the StreamYard link if you're coming in from Facebook, because
then we can see your
you recognize us. We'd like to recognize you.
Yeah. So what'd you think of Studio Taping 23, Dave?
Quite interesting. Fun to watch where we came from.
Yeah, the beginning.
And next week we get to watch where we go on to.
Yep. And we got a lot of other things. We got garage show tapings. We got the Fred Moore Junior High stuff.
Oh, that ring was terrible in Fred Moore.
Yeah, wasn't the best ring, but the matches were really good in those days.
The matches were good. It was nice that we could do pretty much anything in the ring, but taking a bump in that ring, ugh.
Yeah, that was where that famous pile driver to the Tokyo Terror that I did took place on that ring. One little blotch, talk about a blotch. That was the blotch I wished I would have never had.
Yeah. And of course, my botch, I took a body slam wrong there, so.
Yeah. Yeah, so that'll be fun. But like you mentioned earlier, any of you, if you guys that are watching, I mean, a lot of people watch this later on when it's not live. Send us an email. Let us know if there's a certain show that you'd want to watch. Just send us an email to nwfwrestling@gmail.com, and we'd be happy to do any kind of requests that you might have. This is our live weekly podcast. We do it every Thursday at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific. So.
And also, one other thing as far as liking and subscribing, if you subscribe, when we're ready to go live, it will send you out a notification letting you know that we are live.
Yep, and I try to put on. I usually set the reminder thing, I guess, that we're gonna go live usually 2 days in advance. So you'll know 2 days in advance as a reminder that way as well. You'll get a notification if you're subscribed to our YouTube channel or Facebook group.
So for this week, fun show watching the past. Coming up next week, a little glimpse into the future of the NWF.
Along with our special guest, Tim Milton, aka Terrific Tim, will be joining us.
So how about next week we meet back here? We won't be in the Group W studio cable or Group W cable studio. Crossen will have to come up with an interesting background for us, but
yeah.
Let's all meet back here next week, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central. Let's have some fun.
Sounds good. So we'll see you next week, folks. Same time, same place.
Have fun. Have a good week.
I'm Crusher Crossen for Dixie Dave. We'll see you next week.